All right, welcome everybody to the first live Q&A for 2023. Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year.
So, all right, so here's what I wanted to do tonight. So, I mean, really, Elk Calling Academy is all about you guys and helping you guys get, to that level that you want to do, that you want to be in consistent success. And so tonight, what I wanted to do was just kind of have an open roundtable forum about what you guys want to see in this upcoming year. Topics, questions. Um, like I said, it's all about you. Now, one thing that is I'm working on right now, so still working on the e-course and getting that stuff all set, but I'm actually going to start a new video series where I'm going to dive deeper into the biology and the behavioral side of elk. I know we did an episode about what elk eat, but the first video I'm working on right now is really diving into that deeper. What do they eat in the springtime? What do they eat in the summer? What do they eat in the fall? What do they need during the winter? And I think the purpose behind all this is to really help you guys understand the needs of elk at different times of the year. Because if you really understand what they need, it's really going to help you find them a lot easier. So, okay. So, who wants to go first on what they want to see for this upcoming year?
Well, Michael, did you get my response to the Patreon invite?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, I sent it in. I responded to that to give you a heads up on what I was thinking. It's one thing for you to talk about elk calling and to demonstrate elk calling. It's another thing for us to respond to that and you to critique it.
Okay.
So most beneficial for me would be work on technique of the call,
Okay.
and learn the language, and you can critique the participants as we go along, and each of us can demonstrate how terrible we are, and you can improve it.
Okay. I was going to say you might be out on that branch all by yourself about being the one brave enough to sit here and do some calling in front of a group of people and everything and have me critique. So, but then again, if you lead the way and you knock it out of the park, then you basically created to where everybody's like, I ain't following him up.
No, I'm so bad that anybody would want to follow. Although I shared with you, I was blessed to call in that one big bull this fall.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. And so yeah, if you responded on the Patreon, I just had such a hectic day. I haven't had a chance to jump on there to see if there was any comments. So, um, but yeah, definitely I will, check that out. No, we can definitely certainly do something like that where, we break it up into multiple different calling techniques where we focus on a certain sound. And maybe what we might do one week when we're having the live Q&A, we can we can just ask a poll. Okay, hey, the next live Q&A, we're going to work on calling techniques and sounds. What sound do you guys want to focus on? And let you guys as a group kind of talk about what sound you want to cover. And then what I can do at the end of that episode is just kind of give some pointers. And so that way, then you guys got a couple of weeks to kind of practice that a little bit until the next, live Q&A. Then we come back and then we can jump online and do that. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So no, it's kind of funny. One of the things that I offer in the lessons is couples therapy. And no, it's not me getting your significant other to let you go hunting more. It's, It's for hunting partners, and the reason I call it couples therapy is I joke that if you spend enough time on the mountainside with your hunting partner, especially during difficult hunts, you guys are going to bicker like an old married couple. And so that's where I came up with couples therapy.
No, not.
But here's what I found out. A lot of times within hunting partners, you both have strengths and weaknesses, and a majority of the time your strengths and weaknesses are complete opposites of each other. So the one area that one of you is strong in, the other is weak. And so that strength can really help the other person on the weakness side kind of balance out and level each other out, and you both end up, you know, becoming a lot better together.
It's complementary.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, maybe one of you cow calls a little better because you have that really good control, but the other person, you know, is stronger on the bugle side. And even within the cow vocalizations or the bull vocalizations, there's some that one partner is going to be a little bit stronger than the other. And so that's where both of, both helping. So basically kind of my point on this is a group setting like that is, I think, a great idea.
Yeah,
Look at that.
good job, Larry.
I know, I was going to say, coming right out of the gate and just knock it out of the park. So now we're just going to sit here.
No,
Now we're just going to sit here and stare at each other for the next 20 minutes or so because
no,
nobody else wants to throw out other suggestions.
no.
I think we all want something in between walking out of camp and there's an elk there to shoot, and the other extreme of not seeing anything
Mhm.
by the end of that day. So we're all looking for something in between there. And I think listening to the discussions that we've had over the years and going back and looking at the lessons that you've shown us and the discussions that we have, that when I'm out in the field and we get back to the cabin, when Fritz and I have had questions on how do we address and how do we do this, I've gone back and looked and found your sessions that address that stuff, and that's what's helped us out in the field. So what am I looking for in this discussion tonight is more advancement, more stuff to rely back on in my head going, yeah, Michael talked about that before. Now I've seen it firsthand. I want to go back and review, because sometimes when I review things that you've talked to us before, if I have a mental picture, mental experience, I'm picking up more things from your discussion.
Okay. You know, and that's one thing that I was thinking about too, because I know, God, are we on year 3 or year 4 of these, Q&As? And that's what I got to thinking about, was maybe going back to some of the early videos and early discussions. Because I mean, early on, I mean, I would only do these things for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just one very specific topic, and didn't have interaction like this. And so what I was thinking was maybe going back to some of those early topics and discussions and bring them up in a roundtable discussion to revisit some of those things to where we can discuss and dive deeper in, and that may jog some more questions and go, oh yeah, that reminded me of this one time, and something along those lines is something else that I was kind of thinking about, pulling up some of those old topics and diving deeper into them.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
I kind of want you to get your elk on opening day 1 or day 2, Michael, and that you now become available, that we can hire you to come with us and spend a few days. You charge X amount per day, and you come and critique us and help us out in the field.
The only problem with that is the guys in my camp know that if you put on like a bull on the ground and leave camp, you're never coming back to that camp. So those guys,
no, you don't. It's not available till it's back in the freezer and the fridge. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. You know, and that's one thing that it doesn't happen very much anymore, but I remember when I first started this in doing the live Q&As and lessons, I would probably get 20 phone calls or texts during season. And I actually had one guy call me once and he's like, Michael, I have a bull that's about 200 yards away. What should I do? And I'm like, get off the freaking phone. You did not really just call me to say, hey, I have an elk at 200 yards. What should I do?
Oh my God.
Shoot it.
So it doesn't happen much anymore. I mean, I still get the occasional text, during the season about a scenario or this or that. But yeah, the phone calls, and probably because I've learned the last couple of years that as soon as I'm out in the field, I turn that thing to airplane mode so that there is no phone calls during the middle of the day. So because nothing's worse, because I wear that Raptor bino harness, and so that phone is right there, and there's nothing worse when you're in the middle of encounter and then all of a sudden you hear zzz, 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 of your phone vibrating in your bino harness. It's not a natural sound out there. Okay, so what else, guys?
Well, I've got a question now.
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna go somewhere where I probably shouldn't, but I watch a lot of hunting shows and stuff, and I saw this one, Bow Hunter magazine, and Kurt Wells is in Arizona last year, excuse me, and he's calling elk with his two sons. All right, and I got to tell you, he is horrible at calling elk, but they still came into him.
Yep.
It's like I'm like he needs to call Michael. Like it's like almost like they just come to anything
Yeah.
when I'm just speechless because I was like, that's Kurt Wells and he's horrible.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand the location of where he's at. So, he's in Arizona, probably well, Arizona, I mean, it's a draw tag. And so, there's not a lot of hunters. And the other thing too is you have a very, very high bull to cow ratio. And we've talked about that before. When you're in a high bull to cow ratio, you have an extremely amount or high level of competition. And when you have that high level of competition, yeah, you don't have to be as critical on your calling because there's so many elk and that bull to cow ratio is so high that they're just any stinking cow sound. I mean, I joke sometimes in really high, yeah, really high bull to cow ratios. I mean, you can be getting out of the truck and you can honk the horn, slam the door, and hit your lock key so your truck chimes, and a bull will stink and bugle. I mean, I've heard bulls answer chainsaws before, sitting there cutting up a tree and you cut it off, shut that chainsaw off, and a bull bugles. So it's
Uh,
it's it's yeah. So a lot of those shows in that high bull to cow ratio areas, like Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Utah, coveted draw tags, they really don't paint a very good picture of what real elk hunting is about. I mean,
well,
you
I
know,
live here in Arizona, and I mean, I see bulls and stuff. I see a lot of bulls. I do see a lot of cows, but he was up. I think he was up by Flagstaff, and there's a lot of. You're right. There's a lot of elk up by Flagstaff. I mean, I saw like in a meadow one time. I saw over 600 head of elk.
yeah,
Crazy, actually.
yeah. I get text from somebody down in Arizona, throughout the year. And this past September, man, he caught me on a 3 day where hadn't even heard a bugle and just frustrating. And he's sending me text about how he probably heard 200 bugles that day. And I mean, I got tired of it. I shut the phone off. I'm like, you know what? I'm up here, trouncing through public land with, the public army tramping around, and here he's telling me about all this, and I'm just like, bite me. I
Well,
just,
I was in Unit 4A, and I didn't hear a lot of bulls
yeah.
this year. So who knows what was happening? 100 miles the other way. I don't know.
Well, and that's what's crazy too is we've had, I mean, year after year after year, you will hear, people talking. Man, I was out hunting. They were stone cold silent. Anybody else hearing anything? And then you have people, man, they were ripping in my area. So even within a state, I mean, even within, a unit, you can have one side of the unit that's just extremely hot with a lot of activity, and the other one, it's just stone cold silence. And it all comes down to, is there a hot cow? I mean, it could take one hot cow in an area that could just light everything up, and until that happens, I mean, it's quiet. You also have, different variances of what the winter forecast is going to be. How bad is it going to be? Are they, pushing the rut a little bit later because they know it's going to be a bad winter, and they don't want to be dropping calves, during, spring snowstorms, and they want to make sure that there's those, plush vegetation, for those calves to survive. So, I mean, there's so many different variables, and you never know from year to year. I mean, I walked into it this year, everything was lining up going, man, this is just going to be an epic year. I mean, the one unknown that we had was, it was a third year of a La Nina, and, a third year of a La Nina is typically, a little wetter. Temperatures, are a little bit different. And so I was like, man, there's going to be feed all over the place. And I mean, the way the spring started, I mean, Greg, you're here. Remember how wet spring was? I mean, I think
Yes.
all of May, I mean, into June. I mean, every single week, multiple days, lots of rain. And so, I walked into this year going, man, this is just going to be an epic year. And it was on the call-in side. I mean, it was the highest number of call-ins we've ever had in a season, but man, it was the fewest amount of bugles we've ever heard in a season. So, um, but yeah, so definitely, yeah, a lot of those shows that you're watching, yeah, they're in those high bull to cow ratio areas. So,
Right.
But there's a lot of footage that doesn't make their show.
oh yeah,
I mean, they're doing filtering, and so there's a lot of time between. And
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah, because when I was involved with the Explorers Big Game Journal TV show, um, it was very easily, we could have 7 days of filming. You're talking, from the time we leave camp until the time we come back, and filming everything. And within those 7 days of all those hours, going through all that footage to make a 20-minute show.
yeah,
And I mean, there's a lot of times, yeah, you're just seeing the highlight reel. So I really like a lot of these guys that are out there now that are telling you the story. We're going to take you day to day, whether they get something, whether they're into something, whether they get their teeth kicked in. They're showing how it really is, and I think that's really, how it needs to be. I mean, I remember when Primos really started, filming, because that's, when I was pro staff member with them, and God, they made it look like you just walk down an old dirt road and loo on the old Primos, and a bull comes running down to you.
yeah. Which one do you want?
Yeah, made it look really, really, really easy. So, and I think that's one of the things that really fanned the flame and caught the popularity of elk hunting, and really had it explode. Okay.
And that's what brings all these discussions, because we're trying to make our experience out in the field exactly like we see in the films. And so we're trying to find from the experts, how do
Yeah.
we get it there?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the elk woods are not always lined
They
with a
aren't
silver
predictable.
lining, and they're not coated with purple daisies. So, unfortunately, it just, there's those days that you just get your teeth kicked in. I mean, I still get my teeth kicked in on days, and I mean, it's you go back to camp and you really start running through everything in your head, and but that's one thing that's great that I absolutely love about elk hunting. You can be on a 7-day hunt, and you had 6 of the most horrible days you've ever had, actually 6.5. And that last half a day, all of a sudden, just something happens, a cow comes in, and all of a sudden it turned into one of the best hunts you've ever had in your life just because of that half a day. You never know what's going to happen in the next hour. You never know what's going to happen around the bend of a trail or over the top of a ridge, and I think that's kind of the approach that I've always had, especially early on, and that's how I got my nickname One More Ridge, was just because I was always like, let's just go one more ridge. Let's just go one more. There's nothing here. Let's just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And wisdom has kind of taught me a little bit more because I realized the number of elk that I was going by, just, looking for that one deal. So, but yeah, everything can change in the matter of an instant. It's crazy how it happens.
Mike, you know the Elk Bros people,
Very
Joe,
well.
Joe
Yep.
Gilia, and
Yep.
they had a really rough hunt this year, and none of them scored except Joe on the last morning of the last day.
Yep.
Called the bull out of the woods and nailed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe's a good friend of mine. In fact, we always get on the phone right after season and kind of compare notes and how'd your
Oh,
season?
so you knew about that?
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. And so yeah, we talk quite a bit, and yeah, I mean, I remember Corey Jacobson. I mean, there was a couple of his video series where he didn't get anything. Donnie barely got something, but that's just how it goes.
Yep.
But may
I
not
think
happen.
to stick an elk and get it back to camp, that's icing on the cake.
It
And I
is.
think we are really out there just to eat the cake,
Oh
to
yeah,
just to experience, to hear them, to see them, to get close. That's eating the cake,
it is.
and you
You
should
know
be
the
happy with that.
Yeah, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the memories that are created with the people that you're hunting with. The memories that you're creating yourself about the landscape that were out there. I mean, just some beautiful scenery. It's like a couple of years ago when I was crossing that creek. Went through a bunch of buckbrush, got down in the creek to cross. I was following an elk trail, and I looked up and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and I just snapped a picture of it. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later that I went to post that picture online, and I was like, hey, that rock looks like a mountain lion's head. And so I posted the picture and I said, what, hey, what do you guys see here? But it's a great big rock that looks like a cougar's face. It looks like a mountain lion's face. So I posted it online and I was like, hey, what do you guys see here? And it was amazing that people that commented on it, somebody was like, oh, there's a fox's face. And I'm like, what? And then they're like, yeah, look right here on the edge of the water, and it's some rocks on the shore, but with the reflection in the water, and all of a sudden I zoomed in, and I'm like, holy crap! There's the nose and the eyes and the ears, and so just snapping a quick picture, all of a sudden, now every time we cross that, we just kind of stop for a moment. We stop and we look up. Hey, the fox is still there. Hey, look. Yeah, man, that defined mountain lion face on that rock. And we start looking for other things in there. But yeah, great, exactly like you're saying. So many people focus on punching that tag and putting the animal down that they don't
Yeah.
stop to see things like that. Or you're hunting on a higher elevation, you're right on the border of timberline, and you look at those twisted, tormented trees that live at that elevation, and you're like, man, how old is that thing? How long has it been here? How many people have sat underneath it and taken a nap or eaten a lunch, or all those things, and take those in. I mean, one of the greatest things that I love every single morning is pausing right as soon as that daylight cracks on the eastern horizon and you hear the forest come alive. every single morning, I pause and I look at that and listen at that, and I'm like, man, I don't know how many times too, Bryce and I have been coming off the mountainside and we've stopped to take a picture of a sunset just because of, the colors. It's like, holy cow, look at that. So yeah, it is about the journey. It's not about your destination. It's about the journey and everything in between.
I think one of the best parts is elk camp itself. Elk camp
Yes,
is
yeah.
just an absolute blast.
Oh, the shenanigans.
Oh, just being in elk camp is just so
Oh,
much fun.
absolutely.
That's more than half the pleasure,
It
just
is.
being there.
Oh God, it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, and I mean, the shenanigans that I pull with the guys that I hunt with. I mean, my gosh, I'm still amazed that Bryce still hunts with me after the very, very first year. We didn't really know each other. I was dating a gal that worked with his wife, and that's how we got introduced. And man, I said, come on, let's go. I'll take you guys. You guys have been hunting 7 years. You've never heard a bugle. You've never seen an elk. Let's go. And so, we drive to the end of the road, not really knowing each other, and pitch tents and, sit around and have a hot dog that night and go to bed. And the next morning, my alarm gets off and I roll out and I threw on an Elmer Fudd hat and my boots and come rolling out of my tent in an Elmer Fudd hat, my boots and my underwear. And I'm just running down the road by their tent going, we going elk hunting, we going elk hunting. And, Bryce and Kevin are laying in the tent, and Kevin's like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
That is funny.
I mean, I have rolled into camp with a long blonde wig and Bubba teeth, and I told Liz I'm going to go to the thrift store and I'm going to find yeah, great. I told Liz I'm going to go to the thrift store and find a pair of camouflage pants, and then I'm going to find me a bedazzler, and I'm going to bedazzle the heck out of those camouflage pants, and I'm going to roll out of the truck the first day of camp there and tell them this is the new latest and greatest camo. And of course,
Iridescent use jumpsuit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and of course Liz just looks at me and is like, "And you're doing this why?" Because it's fun.
Because it's funny.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, well, Sandy, we haven't heard from you on, what you want to see for this coming year.
I want to find a good elk hunting partner in Washington State. Is what I want.
Okay.
I've been out 3 years and I haven't found anybody to go with yet.
Oh.
I
So,
once in a while meet people up out on the hill, but nothing's ever come of it.
yeah. Do you do very many 3D shoots?
I don't. There's not much in my area
Okay.
out here. There is one archery club about 40 miles from me, I think. That's about it.
Okay. Because I know sometimes those 3D shoots or events like that are great places to network and meet people. So basically, okay, so I need to create an app this year, and instead of the love connection, it's the elk connection, to where people can create profiles, and just like Tinder, you can swipe left or swipe right on a partner that looks interesting, and if it's a
Do
match,
you want
then-
icing on your cake or no,
Yeah.
no icing? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Well, there's no doubt I look interesting.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and you set up the profile right, and so actually, I did have somebody approach me about that idea 2-3 years ago because they were having a really hard time, finding hunting partners. So
Well, and I got one guy that, I could go out with him, but his hunting ethics and mine don't match. He'll take a 70-yard shot without thinking twice, and I'm going, no.
yeah,
I just it irritates me enough. I don't go with it.
yeah. I've been there before. Had a guy in camp one year that, I mean, he would shoot through limbs and brush, and I asked him. I said, "What the heck are you doing?" He goes, "Well, you can't get them if you don't fling them."
Oh,
That's exactly the attitude.
Hmm.
God.
Yeah.
70 yards is 3 shots for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, lining up on the ethics, that is one thing that's really, really tough. Finding somebody that's on the same page with you, has the same ethics, is willing to work on the calling, willing to get in some sort of shape, and also too, kind of one of the first things we talked about, not that person that as soon as I get a bull on the ground, it's like, oh, hey, I just got a phone call. There's an emergency. I need to go home. And boom, they're off the mountain. They're not in it for the others, and that's why in our group where we share the meat. I mean, everybody is taking part of it, and um, it's the right thing to do. We get one elk on the ground, everybody gets a quarter. We get two, it's a half. Three quarters. If everybody tags out, everybody gets their own elk. But so,
You help carry it out, you carry it home.
yep, yep. So. Online forums, chat rooms. You can join Facebook groups. So, there's a lot of Facebook groups that are area specific, and you'll be amazed at the number of people that are actually in there, kind of in the same boat that you are, that are having a really hard time finding somebody that they can hunt with, that all those things line up with. And one of the things that I kind of told other people, that if you do meet somebody like that, um, go go fishing together, go on a scouting trip together. Don't go to your area, or this. Just say, hey, I've got this area I want to go check out. You want to go? And it's amazing how a weekend camping trip, scouting trip like that, you will pick up on little things. How are they in camp? Do they pick up after themselves? Do they, help in chores, or do they just, sit there and all that kind of stuff? When you're out hiking, what's their woodsmanship level like? So you can really uncover a lot of information, because the last thing you want to do is everything's going to look great on paper, and then you get there to elk camp that first day, and then all of a sudden, they you throw the garbage on the ground. They don't even get a sack out. They just, get back to camp and sit in the chair, and, oh, hey, what are you having for dinner? Yeah, that sounds good. Can you make me a couple of those too? And
Yeah,
or man,
the last thing you want to do is throw a rope over a limb with a noose on the end of it. You
absolutely.
know,
Yeah. Or it's the one I like is, okay, so you're talking to the person. It's like, okay, I'm gonna grab some groceries, you grab some groceries. When we get to camp, we can kind of pool everything and get our resources, and then you get to camp, and their idea of breakfast is Pop Tarts and powdered sugar glazed donuts.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. It is good once in a while, but every single day, I mean,
man,
it's and I'll tell you what, that camp trailer really spoiled me this year with those Jimmy Dean croissant breakfast sandwiches, the sausage, egg, and cheese.
I eat the same thing.
What's that?
I eat the same thing, the
Oh,
Jimmy Dean thing before we
heck
go out. And
yes.
you set
Those
the fucker
things,
off,
those things.
throw it in the microwave, you're good to go.
Yeah, you get the coffee started, you pop that in, you go get your clothes on, and then you got coffee and a good breakfast there. So,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So what else?
Did those old videos on e-scouting never get functional again? Last time I tried to get on them with Patreon, I could not view them.
I know I grabbed a bunch and migrated them over, from Vimeo over to YouTube. So if you see the YouTube logo on them, so
Okay.
let
Yeah,
me.
I've been trying to expand where I'm searching in the area I've been hunting, just because it's a kind of nursery area, and I'm trying to find the rutting area next to it,
Okay.
and would love to watch those videos again and improve my e-scouting before I go hike it.
What if we do an episode on that, where I just screen share and I pull up some of my tools and I just go to an area and just live with you guys looking over my shoulder? I can just walk through an area, and okay, when I'm looking online, because I know the videos had that, But I think in this format where you have the ability to ask questions about why are you looking at that? Why are you, choosing that
Yeah.
spot? So
I'd love that. I'll give you a target area if you want to scout it for me.
if you want everybody else,
Well, if you find somebody in Washington wants to go with me, I'll take them.
well, I'll tell you what, if the area looks good enough, you might get some out-of-staters coming over to Washington to hunt that area.
Good luck. I'll be there first.
Yeah, so yeah, we can most definitely do that. So I mean things like that are, really easy to um, dive in. I know we kind of did that with the shot placement once where, I had all those slides and the videos and pictures to where we were kind of looking at shot placement. And yeah, I didn't think, because I know we did those e-scouting challenges where I kind of threw out some GPS
Yeah.
coordinates, yeah, and had you guys look at, and then, I did the follow-up video with what I found on that area. So yeah, I like that idea. Okay, a couple more minutes. What else? We got,
I'm thinking a raffle to go out to Michael's hunting camp.
and that,
I have
I would,
Pop-Tarts.
yeah. And that's one thing, Larry talking about Joe, that's one thing they did this year. So they actually had two or three students that did, went through, the videos and kind of stuff, and then actually came out and they didn't per se hunt with the Elk Bros crew. There was some coaches there. So the guys were on their own, but they had somebody there to bounce things on, and a couple of students ended up getting elk, and it was kind of interesting when Guy Duplanche was telling me, because Guy was supposed to come out here to Idaho and hunt with me, but then he ended up going down to this deal with Joe the same week. And I told Guy, I said, you better be careful, I said, because you can get nabbed for illegal guiding. And so that's the problem. But Joe does have an outfitter and guides licenses, so that's why he was able, to do that down in that area.
Michael, I was blessed to be one of those hunters.
Oh, were you?
I was.
How was it?
It was a great experience. It wasn't a guided hunt.
Yeah.
It was a coached hunt.
Yeah, it
So
was a coach.
you go with a different coach each. Sometimes you get the same coach day. It's only a 5-day hunt,
yeah.
but it was really. I got to hunt with Guy, got to hunt with Joe one time, got to hunt with Gilbert.
Okay.
Cornell. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was a great experience.
Good. Yeah,
Good.
see, that I would love to be able to do something like that. And in fact, um, at a seminar one time, I kind of threw everybody's name, had them throw tickets in, and I drew a winner. And that's what I was going to do, was basically I was going to take them out in the field and teach them. So, but unfortunately, Idaho has very, very strict laws. And in fact, here's the crazy thing. So, Larry, let's say you come out to Idaho and hunt with me and come to my camp, and we run into town to grab some gas and a couple of groceries, and you buy me lunch. I can be ticketed as illegal guiding because I accepted a free meal from you.
Oh, wow.
That is how stringent Idaho's.
How about in camp when we're sharing food? Is that accepting free meal or is that exchange?
That's just something else. If there's any monetary exchange or goods exchanged, then yeah, they can consider that as illegal outfitting. So,
Wow.
and it's crazy too, because I mean, especially with the TV show, when it was involved in all that, and then the heavy video production and stuff, I mean, we were under a fine-tooth comb. I mean, there was a lot of times where we had fish and game agents tailing us just to see and make sure and all that. It's crazy. I don't miss those days. So
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I was thinking more along the lines of student comes and watches the hunt and helps pack, not necessarily brings his own tag.
yeah, I I have no problem with extra pack mules, especially if I'm on the mountainside with vertigo and can't pack what I normally pack. So I'll take a tenderloin or a backstrap. Nice, nice.
I hope by elk season you're at full strength and no vertigo.
Well, and you know that's what's kind of funny because I was sitting there and when I found out that it could take 3 months to get over this, and I told Liz and I said that's perfect, and she goes, but that's 3 months. I said, yeah, but it's crappy winter months. We're not in the mountains right now anyway, so who cares? By the time the snow's melting, I'll be back to good and be able to hit the mountainside.
Can you drive okay?
Yeah, I'm back to driving, and that was so I went in for 2 days into the office, and it was a little sketchy driving, and then we shut the office down the 21st. Yeah, we shut the office down Wednesday the 21st and didn't reopen until this week. Was just working from home, so that allowed me to stay home and not have to drive.
Well,
Yeah, I was joking with the CEO of our company, and I'm like, it's a good thing I went downtown Boise in my 20s a lot and got used to this condition, and driving home from downtown, it just prepped me for going through all this.
Driving with one eye open.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one I open, one foot on the floor, yeah, all that stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, these are some great topics, great discussions. Really looking forward to 2023. Like I said, some of the new video series it's working on. And like I said, I really wanted to step up, some of these live Q&As. So I think, going back through some of the old topics, definitely with the elk calling techniques. And I mean, we can do several of, the e-scouting. I can focus on a different tool each time, um, and then kind of show how to bring all that information together as well. So sounds like a plan.
okay.
Sounds
Best
good.
One other,
wishes on your recovery.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, I hope you feel better.
Thank you, sir.
ever since Liz came into your life, you
Uh-huh.
have seemed like a happier, healthier individual.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Truly,
it's been noticeable.
just thank you. I mean, just so
Yeah,
blessed. I mean,
you're
it's
right.
it's
You're right.
yeah, it's amazing having somebody that shares the same passions and same interests and same values. And it's we joke with each other each time, quite a bit, that we basically just tell each other it's like, there is no ending to this. If you don't like me today, too stinking bad, go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and we're just going to do this all over again. We'll try it all over again. There is no walking away. There is no quitting. And so, yeah, I
Well,
appreciate
just
that.
tell her from somebody on this side of the Zoom meeting, thank you
I
for
absolutely will.
bringing Michael
Absolutely
back.
will.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, real quick,
yes.
there is a January late archery cow season over near Dayton, Washington.
Yep.
Not a lot of terrain, pretty open.
Yep.
Some draws.
Yep.
Would I focus on lost cow calls pretty much this time of year?
Yeah. Also, too, with that kind of, hunt, it's going to be more kind of pattern based. If there's fields that they're coming out into feed in, you might have to spend a little bit of time watching from their approach routes, and then almost set up on an ambush type style. And I am familiar with the Dayton area, so growing up in Hermiston, and then I had grandparents that lived in Pomeroy, well, Pataha actually. So yeah, have gone through Dayton quite a bit and spent some time there.
Yeah, it's there's not much for cover, but I thought, what the hell? I can get out there with the spot and scope. Maybe I'll see something, maybe I won't.
So that's the lowland hunt down on the river bottom.
Yeah, it's down along the river.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you have snow on the mountainsides and higher elevations, it's going to push them down there. They'll escape back to the trees just for, comfort. But a good part of the day, they're going to be coming out in those fields looking for any nutrients, looking, for anything that they can. So now, this time of year, there's not a lot of vegetation. I mean, they will eat the dead grasses that do have, some nutritional value, not much at all. But really, more this time of year, they are eating soft limbs and they are actually scraping bark off of aspen trees. And so if you can find aspen thickets, hang out by those.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right, guys, as always, enjoy it. So keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, have fun. And we'll see you guys on 2 weeks on the next Wapiti Live Q&A.
Take care. Best
Thank-
wishes.
You bet. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
Too.